So how does male strength come from pain? How does it come from the many different pains that we see? In true masculinity, what we've almost forgotten about, what our culture diminishes, but then also we're distracted from a lot of the different things that we see with the manosphere and the men's rights stuff and the red pill and so on. We see a false masculine giving a false answer to men that is hurting them more. I want to tell you this. I've led men for 17 years now, thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and we have calls almost every day of the week working with men with real problems. And to get to the end of that, to find success, to find power in this world, it is not the narrative that I hear from other men talking. Strength usually starts with pain. It can have weakness in there. It can have sadness, but we have to be able to walk through it, not deny it or bypass it, but walk through it and become the strong man, not an image, but a real man, a real you, carrying whatever it is, your life, your family, and everything else. So that's what we're talking about today. So let's get into this. When we go through things like breakups, when we go through things like job losses, when we go through things like feeling undervalued in society, maybe our sexuality is diminished, we can't find a mate, we get frustrated with the dating game, we lose more than half of everything in a divorce, whatever it is, we go through a pain that doesn't have a place in our society where we can solve it, where we can actually work through it. In fact, we're told that we're not supposed to feel that when we're angry, when we're violent, when we're pissed off, when we do impulsive actions, when we can't get out of this loop in our head, or maybe we're just sad and we can't stop being sad. These things are seen as bad in our culture. It is oftentimes seen in our culture that if we're in a bad state, it's something that we need to get out of. And if we get out of it right away, we're somehow good or winning in this way. And this is just simply not true. The process of becoming a great man, the process of becoming a man that is truly has power and strength isn't an image. It isn't looking strong. It isn't playing the part. It is being the part. And in being the part when going through an enormously tough time, like something that doesn't make sense, like a divorce or like frustrations in the dating and sexual realm, like PTSD, like war. And as men, we face these things. And of course, women face their own. We are put in a spot where we can't get a solution. How do we process that pain? How do we process that anger? We hear over and over again, okay, well, you need more of the feminine, or you just need to feel, or part of toxic masculinity, which you have now, you're a toxic male, is because you haven't emoted in the right ways. And man, look, I'm going to tell you something right now. Every time a man comes to me with a specific problem, he's probably already sought out different therapists, and I'm all for therapy. I want people to go to it. I encourage people to go to it. If you need references, just ask me. But he's gone to therapy, he's gone to coaches, he's gone to different people, he's gone to different support groups, and he's told over and over again that this can't work, that he needs to change, and he needs to do this other thing, which may not even be specific or beneficial to his specific problem. Like maybe he has PTSD from war, tries to go to some sort of support group that isn't around other vets or so on. He wants some different flavor and goes to a different, aspect of whatever. And in that whole situation, man, he is told that he needs to do it this way or else. And the result of that is really negative. It's really, really terrible. He then goes home. He thinks that his problems are unsolvable. He goes back to isolation. He goes back to where he's at. He goes back to his pain of where he's at. There's nobody to talk to, and there's no other answer. And some of the only answers in that would be things like suicide, drug use, alcohol abuse, and so on. And this is the trap and the cycle that he's stuck in. When we have big problems in our life, they take a long time to solve. They take work and they take community, and it's super, super important that that person is able to find that. When we work through this with our group, it's really important that we give the space. And I almost hate using that word because every just false solution offered to men seems to say that, at least one side of it. But we need to give that space where that man can go crazy. He can be angry. I don't want him to break the law. I don't want him to go to jail. I don't want any of these things to happen to him. But he needs to be able to process the emotions that fuel some of those perhaps impulsive actions, those dysfunctions that he's in. And that is huge. And then, of course, there needs to be a steady road that he walks. Something put in front of him so he could get back to his true expression and who he is. Now, we look at this and we see that as a dysfunction in our culture. And that is not a dysfunction. That is the path to self-realization. That is the path to being somebody who is a great man. The path of being a great father doesn't mean that you're always good. It means that you fail, you go through the pains, you go through the confusion, you go through the things that don't make any sense, and you bring them to good. To be a good man in a relationship means that you go through the heartbreak, the pain, the things that don't make sense. Maybe it comes through divorce or a horrible botched custody issue, and you go through that as a man. And it's so important to go through that pain, to go through that reality, to be able to express it, to be around other men who feel that is something so special that we're robbed from. It is so vital and important for us to recognize this. You know, I recorded something the other day on the divine masculine or the sacred masculine, and I almost hate using those words. But the reason why I went back to them is because when you go through pain and hate that doesn't make any sense, when you go through sadness that doesn't make any sense, and you're allowed to feel it, and you're allowed to also be given a path of the right steps put in front of you, a totally new thing happens. You take good actions. And the good man that is shaped from that is divine and sacred. It is a beautiful process that only masculinity will know, and femininity has its own path. It's not a comparison to one or the other, but it's a recognition of the differences of those things. And that is one of the most beautiful experiences that we see with men in modern culture, the very few men that have been able to take it. We have a ton of distraction in our world now, a ton of it. A ton of distraction that is telling us that we need to be mad, we need to be angry, we need to take things back, we need to do all this sort of stuff, and almost take that anger that we have and turn it into a political cause or these other things. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no point in focusing on changing our world if we are not changed within, or at least on the road or path to changing those things within. If this is a message that resonates with you, man, by all means, the best way that you could get started is to join something like the Rising Man or like this call, Men's Development Excellence, which is a bigger commitment. Or if these things are not something that you like, but you do like my content, give me some coffee money. There's a little button for that down below. And it's a good way to support the channel and support what I'm doing. But there is an answer for masculinity that is happening. It's real. It has to do with pain. It has to do with failure. And it has to do with the strength that results from that. And any strength that I see that bypasses those things is one of the most foolish and deceiving and evil weaknesses that is leading men in modern culture today. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.